welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Champions League draw has been done. We've got a game against Forest coming up. All good for Spurs at the moment. Still week-ish left of the transfer window, so we'll see what that brings as well. Joined by a Forest fan today, so it's Spurs and Forest one-on-one. John Maley. How you doing, John?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Oh, no problem. Pleasure having you on. You've been on before. So he's here to talk about the game from a Forest perspective, me from a Spurs perspective, and let's see if we have any arguments. And we'll be doing this a few times because we've been drawn against Forest in the League Cup away from home, so exactly the same fixture as Sunday. So it'd be quite interesting how the two games pan out, if there'll be players vested or what have you. But are you happy with the draw of the League Cup, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know I'm speaking to a few fans who went to Grimsby, in the week. And it's funny now, isn't it? Now we are in the Premier League again. You look at things a little bit differently, as in, actually, where we would have wanted to have avoided, say, a Rotherham or, a lower league side when we were in the Championship. Now, to kind of progress, it's, you might want to gobble a few of those up, so to speak. But no, the bigger the better the games at the minute. It's just really enjoyable. So yeah, very happy with the draw.
Yeah, and from Spurs' perspective, could have got a lot worse teams. No disrespect intended there, but we could have got a Man City or a Liverpool. So
yeah,
all to play for. Forest will fancy their chances at home. We'll fancy our chances against none of the big hitters. But first and foremost, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please get your likes in, hit that like and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Really helps the channel. And get your comments in as well. Anything you want to talk about regarding Forest, Spurs and the game, get those in. And we'll try and cover off as many as possible. But, John, this is a Spurs channel, so you will have to indulge me for a minute. The big news this week, the new Champions League group has been drawn. Group D, we're in Spurs, Frankfurt, Marseille, and Sporting Lisbon. We managed to avoid any of the big hitters, the Real Madrids. I don't know who won Serie A last year, but we managed to avoid all the big hitters. Can't get City at this stage. So on paper, we should be doing quite well in that. And looking to win the group. But the first time we were in Champions League, I think the biggest hitter we had was Monaco. And we ended up going out. And then subsequent years when we had Real Madrid and Barcelona, we ended up getting through. And Barcelona obviously was the year that we got to the final. So I think Conte will be fairly happy with that. The players will be fairly happy with that against teams who, on paper, we should be able to beat. Whereas if you've got Barcelona or Real Madrid, you probably think, that's going to be tough going to the Bernabeu. But on paper, we should be doing well in that. But, you're not a Spurs fan, but if you were a Spurs fan, would you be happy with that draw? Or would you want one of the big guys in a big away day and test yourself against one of the big guys?
Yeah, first thing that came to mind for me seeing those names was some incredible away trips, where for any of the fans, if they can get away, looking at it purely from just, not just the game, but visiting new cities and experiences. It's what it's all about, and that's what part and parcel of the beauty of football and the appeal. Good friend of mine, Leicester City fan, first thing I said to him after they won the league, back in 2016 was just make sure you go to a few away experiences because, I've been proven right in the sense of Leicester haven't been consistently knocking on the door of, the top four in the last few seasons anyway. So great to see Spurs back in there. I remember, going back 10 years now, but that game where Gareth Bale gave the Inter Milan right back at the time, who was seen as one of the best. The Brazilian, can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Maicon.
Yes,
he essentially retired him in 90 minutes.
Incredible. Great memories. Crouchy scoring as well. Crouchy at the peak of his powers. A different Spurs era, a very different Spurs side, but a very likable Spurs side from memory. So, great to see Spurs back in European football, and I'll definitely be, wanting to see them progress.
Yeah, appreciate that. But one of the things we will have to be wary of, and this is a cross it at the time, is very, very unlikely that you'll get if you finish first or second, that in the next round you'll get the other team who finished first or second. So we are likely to get a Barcelona, Real Madrid, teams like that. But cross that bridge when we come to it. First things first, have to qualify from that group. But matter of opinion, not saying being a Leicester fan influences my score predictions, but Spurs 6-0 would be a delightful scoreline to see. The Forest and Leicester rivalry in full force there. But yeah, first things for a Forest fan. We talked about this off air, but on record here. How's life in the Premier League? We were saying earlier the 1-0 against West Ham, very important to get that first win early doors. Certainly at home as well, stop the fans and the players getting a bit restless and nervous. But how do you think only 3 games? How do you think the first 3 games have gone?
Yeah, no, really pleased. It was always a tough ask going to St James's first game of the season. I
think Man City's point there will prove to be a good point come the end of the season. I don't see them dropping a huge amount of points to Newcastle at home.
Absolutely right. And a really fluid midfield as well. I know Joelinton was kind of experimented with second half of last season in the middle of the park, but gosh, what a signing! He's looking to be now converted as that sort of number 8, if you want.
Just brought Isak in as well.
Yeah.
Unknown quantity, young, not played in the league before, but if
FIFA players among us.
If he is a good quantity, then he could be one hell of a player and a signing for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely right. And as I say, FIFA players among us the last few seasons will be well aware of the crop of like Isak from Sweden. But yeah, so tough ask to go away to Newcastle, and so that's okay. We'll take that. Big win against West Ham. Really pleased with how we defended. Coming up against Mikel Antonio, returning to Forest. It was always a big ask. I've seen Antonio give the best of defenders and teams the run around in recent seasons. So yeah, to hold out for the result. Dean Henderson as well showing his worth from Manchester United. But for the results on Monday against Liverpool, a lot of United fans that I know were saying, "Why are we loaning him out?" When De Gea is arguably in question. And then yeah. I actually went to Goodison as well on Saturday, so great to have that experience. It really was one of the like the Lane before the move, one of the great old grounds still left in the top flight. So great to experience.
Bit upset, 1-0 up and then conceding a goal a couple of minutes before the end, or was it a deserved point for Everton?
That's it. It's one of those where you look back, on the Monday and you think it's a good point, but I was disappointed coming out of the ground, but that just shows how far we've come. It doesn't feel too long ago, losing to Wickham at home. So, to come up to come away a little bit disappointed with a point. I think 4 on the board now going into the Spurs game. It's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a starting point for us, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely get 4 points in. I think you're 10th in the league, which for a newly promoted team, you want a good start. You don't want a West Ham start. You don't want a West Ham start. No goals scored and bottom of the league, pointless. So yeah, it's been a good start for Forest, especially as we'll come on to this as well. You've got a lot of new players to bed in, a lot of players from last season gone, and a lot of new players to come in as well. But how do you think the game will pan out? We'll come on to the specific Spurs and Forest talk a bit later on, but in terms of the game and predictions later on, but in terms of the game, how do you think it will pan out? We're obviously better if teams attack us. If teams sit back, Southampton did that, but we managed to find a way to get past them. Wolves attacked us, and certainly in the second half, we were able to pick locks and find space. At home, Forest, do you think you'll attack us, or because this is your first? Not big test, but this is your first test at a top 6 team.
No, you're absolutely right.
And so how do you think you'll approach this game? All-out attack, or a draw is a 0-0 is a fairly good result? Let's go for that and see what happens.
It is a funny one for the analysts out there or the tacticians to kind of predict, because Steve Cooper has always said at home, especially, we will always stay true to how we want to play. we will always respect whoever the opposition is. So Tottenham, without question, and you're right, probably the biggest, the biggest side we've had come to town for a very long time. But let's not forget the FA Cup games last season, and with a arguably much less quality than we've brought in as well. There's certainly no Morgan Gibbs-White. There's certainly no Mangala, the guy that we've brought in midfield from Germany. Jesse Lingard. There was none of those, and we managed to progress and do really well. So that's a response back to the guy who commented from Leicester. That was a thoroughly enjoyable Sunday afternoon. That was. But no, getting back to the game, it's going to be really tough. It is going to be tough because you're right. Whichever way that we approach. So if we sit back, look to go on the counter, which I predict will sort of be the approach. It's going to be difficult. I also know, Son hasn't quite got into groove yet.
We're pretty much getting onto him in a second. But
there's going to be an expectancy for, but we know with Son, he hits these purple patches, and when the first one goes in, people will be looking at their fantasy league teams to get him in there. And just the quality, you can't deny it. The way Kane, he had to be patient against Wolves, but the way he peels away from Nathan Collins at young Collins to score was just really impressive, and just shows that quality that we're going to be coming up against. So it's going to be really difficult. Without being defeatist, I'll be absolutely delighted with a point, and I think the atmosphere at home could make all the difference. If we won, that would be incredible. But I'm not going to go on record and say I expect that.
Well, you will be later on because there's predictions later on. But Carl Simpson, how you doing, buddy? And a matter of opinion, did expect that to be mentioned. Well played. My worry about the game is certainly the last two games. We haven't turned up in that first half. And luckily, we came across Chelsea and the Wolves team who didn't have a striker to put the chances away. We can't keep doing that. We will end up getting, game done by half time. We have to turn up in these games. And that's a worry for me. And we've had to have Richarlison come on 50, 60 minutes in to get that kind of energy up, which is a big worry. But I would say that we can't keep doing that. But then you have to say that at some point that would stop. You'd think. But Forest, regardless where you've been for 20 years, you're a big club, a big club. I always like when a team comes up who have never been in the Premiership before, or one that were a massive club or are a massive club that come back up, like Leeds as well. And your fans will be bang up for this as well. So if we don't turn up, and you get your shooting boots on, we could have a real difficult time on our hands. And we're going for certainly top four, but hopefully even further. You've got to beat the teams who you expect to beat, certainly away from home. And that's my worry, that you'll come out like a train because you're bang up for it. Fans are bang up for it. The crowd will encourage them even more. We don't turn up at all. And then we're in no man's land come half time. But then equally, it could be one of the most boring games you've ever seen. You don't give us any space, you don't commit yourselves, and you think 0-0's okay. 0-0's okay against top six side. But you mentioned him already, Son. The Spurs fans calling him to be dropped. I'm not one of those. You don't drop your best players, and he didn't start off too well last season and got the golden boot. Kane has got multiple golden boots where he didn't score at all in August. And that front three that we've got, we'll talk about those as well and change it up a little bit here with the front three. Kulu, Kane and Son. The amount of goal involvements they've got since Kulusevski arrived is quite frightening. But those three in particular are our danger men. I know Conte plays with wing backs, but generally those three are our danger men. Are you worried about Son that, okay, I've had a bit of bad form, okay, I'll just go score a hat-trick, get my season back on track? Or do you think you can stop him And then how do you deal with that front three? Because slightly different from last season, whereas last season, if Kane and Son don't score, what do we do here? We've now got three of them. So how do you go about stopping those? And what do you think of Son's form? And do you think it's only a matter of time until it picks up again?
Yeah, it's quite terrifying. The thought of facing the three, it really is. It's exciting, it is, because that's what we've worked hard to do, to get back and face ourselves against quality like that. But it is scary. I literally had a conversation less than a fortnight ago with a friend, and the topic of conversation was neither of us could remember a player who settled into the Premier League like Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Just like
it's fantastic for us, but yeah,
unbelievable.
Only 21, 22 as well. Looks much older than that, and yeah, superb signing.
Yeah, so selfless as well. A real team player. It must be It must be Conte's dream. It must be an absolute manager's dream as well. Obviously, I don't know. It could be a nightmare to manage, but how he plays, he comes. How he plays, he comes across as a real manager's dream. Yeah, it's going to be really tricky, and it's going to be interesting to see what Kane does as well, because Kane's been known he can drop a little deeper. I remember back end of last season, he was doing this almost like you were playing like this sort of triangle, where it was him at the point deeper in midfield, picking the ball up, releasing whoever was in front of him, invariably Son, and it worked really well. So Kane's passing is a delight to watch at the best of times. So yeah, we're going to have to be on our absolute perfect, no less than 8 out of 10 to get anything. I really, really believe that. And yeah, it's going to be tricky because we don't have the quickest defense. Steve Cook, Scott McKenna, Joe Worrell, absolutely superb in the Championship. I'll be pleased Steve Cook's Premier League experience. We'll be needing that tomorrow, on Sunday. But it's going to be tough. And, I may be watching behind a pillow at certain moments of the game. But no, why not? Really exciting. And equally, Chris, what are your thoughts? I appreciate you probably don't have too much knowledge of sort of Forest's backline and stuff, but we'll probably play out of possession a back five. So the wing backs, Nico Williams, Harry Toffolo will tuck in to support the guys I just mentioned. But yeah, it's there'll be moments we'll suffer. I've no doubt about that.
But there's definitely be moments where you're on top, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes where you're on top. You generally get that in the Premiership. But in terms of, like you said, the defence was good in the Championship. What I'm hoping for is a comfortable win for Spurs, which then is a wake-up call for Forest going, this is what the Premiership is like. And that's not the worst thing, because your goal is obviously to stay up. You're not going to stay up or go down based on what you do against Tottenham, City, Liverpool, Chelsea. But yeah, that's what I hope. But this is Tottenham. We never do anything simply. So it's not going to be a simple 3-0 win or something like that. But this is our chance as well. We want to do things. So you've got to be professional, do a professional job, concentrate and get the job done. Again, this is Tottenham. We don't get the job done generally. But yeah, it's a real chance for us to show that we mean business and give you a wake-up call. But then equally, you've got nothing to lose. I don't think many people, Forest fans, Spurs fans, neutrals, will be expecting Forest to beat us. So therefore, that can play into your hands as well. Nothing to lose, go for it. And like I said, lose 6-0, it's not going to decide whether you stay up or go down. Obviously, the goal difference isn't great and confidence might not be great. But yeah, that's what I hope. But like I said, my worry is that we don't start very well.
Yeah,
be out of sight by then, and that's a big worry for me.
Yeah, and like you said before, the atmosphere will be raucous. There could be one of those great fan displays by Forza Garibaldi, who are a really great Forest fan sort of supporters trust.
Yeah, go check them out. Their YouTube link is in the description here. It'll be on the podcast as well.
Yeah, great bunch of guys. And yeah, they put a lot of time and effort into fan displays. You may have seen previous ones in the build up to the playoffs and such. Yeah, I mean, one thing I wanted to get in quite early is at least Roger Milford won't be refereeing this one from the 1991 FA Cup final.
You took the lead. What are you talking about?
Yeah, love Gaza, but on any other day, he would not have finished that game.
Well, it was a different way. He didn't finish the game. He got stretched off, but
Well,
he would have
he
been
did get
sent off.
stretched
But a
along,
completely
yeah.
different era. You can't do that these days. But yeah, a couple
No,
of comments. Kuva, how you doing, buddy? Into the unknown once more. Haven't played Forest in ages. Absolutely. Carl Simpson echoing my sentiments. Love that Forest are back up. Been far too long. And this is interesting for Carl as well. Watching the Spurs training, Spence was quality. I wonder if he'll be playing a part this weekend and maybe starting. And Jay Ashraf, son looked awful in the shooting practice. He can be awful in the shooting practice as long as he's all right in the games. I don't care. But Spence, he'll obviously I say he'll obviously know your team. You got rid of so many players from last year and brought so many in. Maybe not, but he'll know Steve Cooper. But
yeah.
also, this is the first time this season we've got West Ham on Wednesday. This is the first time it's not one game a week; it's 2 games a week. We've got a squad now, certainly with substitutes. We can bring Basuma on, we can bring Richarlison on, we can bring Perisic on. 3 players just there who can really make a difference. We didn't have that last season, so I expect either this game, probably this game, because West Ham is a big rivalry and we never do well there. For in terms of Spurs, anyway, the team to be shifted around a little bit. So, do you see Spence starting? He hasn't played a minute in the Premier League for us at the moment.
No, I've heard some funny noises actually. I don't know how true they are, but my understanding is he was a club signing, not a Conte signing, which has come out quite recently, and he's not been named in the last 2 matchday squads in the Premier League. Jed Spence. So I'm not sure for him to go from that to then completely back into the limelight against his former side, based on what I've just said, might be a bit too much. I'm not sure what Conte's sort of thoughts are on him really, but what I do know is there is a player there that really is, and I was quite aggrieved. We didn't go in for him, but I think that's because we always knew Nico Williams was going to be an option, and from what I have seen, looks a very good replacement. With a bit of European and Premier League pedigree to his name, albeit limited. I can see that quality he showed in the game so far. So yeah, it's an interesting one with Spence. But what I will say is, I hope he gets his head down. I hope he shows Conte, that he is worthy of probably not starting. Let's be realistic with the competition ahead of him. But as you say, with the 2 game weeks that are going to be coming up, where managers are going to have to shuffle the deck, I just hope that he shows that he's there and he's willing to fight for his place, because there is a player there, absolutely.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a Conte type of wing back because he goes forward. I think he had God knows how many ahead he was of the second defender in terms of dribbles going forward in the Championship last year. But he's definitely Conte's style there. Whether he's his signing, a club signing, I have no idea on that. I don't think there's any way that Levy would make a signing and Conte would go, I don't want him, and he makes it anyway. Whether Conte just said it to appease him because he'd got in Richarlison, Basuma, Perisic, I don't know.
No,
yeah, I'm not sure. But it'd be interesting to see, because I'm pretty sure I read or heard that up until because of the Champions League and League Cup, we've got 2 games a week up until the World Cup, which is mid-November, which is 2 3/4 months, 3 months, give or take. So there's definitely going to have to be rotation, I think, because certainly someone like Kane and Son can't be playing every single game, and then a World Cup. Højbjerg as well, and whatever. So it'd be interesting to see the lineup that Conte picks for this one. I think he'll mix and match. So some first team players, some on the fringes, and fight for your place, and then the same, albeit kind of switched around against West Ham. But it'd be very interesting to see that. But in terms of Forest, you signed this guy, which was obviously quite a big deal, Jesse Lingard. I don't have pictures for every one of your signings because we'll be here until Sunday. What do you make of Lingard and the other signings? You were kind of hampered and forced into it in a sense, not Lingard, but the other signings, because most of them were on loan last season and didn't return. So you've had to make other signings. We already mentioned Nico Williams, who I think is a quality player. And he will definitely benefit from pretty much a game every week, 38 games and a little 30 odd games, which he wouldn't have got at Liverpool. So what do you make of the signings so far? We'll come on to your striker, Awoniyi, that guy a little bit later on. But in terms of Lingard and the other signings, Dean Henderson, I think, is a quality keeper. But yeah, what do you make of them so far and how they've bedded in? Obviously, it helps when you've got 4 points out of 9 on the board already. And they'll only get better because they'll bed in and get used to things a bit more. But yeah, how do you think they've all settled so far? And are you pleased with all the signings that you've made?
Yeah, it's you set the record well with what you said, so because otherwise I'd have had to have gone in with my big "this is why we're doing it" speech. But no, it's true. We had no choice. Is the short answer. We really didn't, in the sense of 5 of the starting 11 in the playoff final were loans. The goalkeeper, Brice Samba, said he wants to go back to France for family reasons, so he's gone to Lens. Club captain, Lewis Graben, I've just seen this week, he's signed for a Saudi Arabian side, so good luck to Graben. Obviously
you had the United guys. Was it Garner? He was really good for you in the Championship.
Yeah, James Garner. That was always a difficult one, because we always knew if there was even a possibility it was going to be at this stage in the window. I feel we've almost signed not too many, but it would be difficult to see, even with his quality, how he fits in now, because we've signed, good midfielders, and yeah, in total honesty, the overall numbers I'm a little surprised at. I don't want to say it's scattergun, because I understand, there has to be an approach when you come into the Premier League. There needs to be quality first signings, and there have been. It's great to see us get Morgan Gibbs-White, someone Steve Cooper's worked with before, wanted from the moment we got promoted, and we've delivered. And I know a lot of people are questioning the numbers, but I've seen a lot of inaccurate reporting of numbers. Same with Jesse Lingard's wages; they are nowhere near the 200,000 reported a week. It's not. It's really not. And also, he said himself, if it was for money, he could have gone to other European clubs or clubs abroad, and that's true. But when you think of, I'd look at it like this with Forest. When you look at the 2 clubs we've come up with, Bournemouth and Fulham, I'm asked, don't just look at their actual spend. If you look at their average spends across the past 5 seasons, then compare that to Forest, who had a Championship side put together last season, less than 10 million. We way outperformed. We punched way above our weight. Testament to Cooper's management when he came in. We lost the first 6 games of last season.
It was stone cold bottom, weren't you? And then
stone cold bottom.
I mean, you talk about Eddie Howe and the job that he's done, but the job Steve Cooper did from bottom to getting up is
unbelievable. Yeah, so then when you then compare that spend, we didn't spend much at all in January. We just got some experience with Steve Cook through the door, Keenan Davis on loan, which was a really good signing for us. But Bournemouth bought practically a new 11 in January. No one's talking about that. Spent over 20 million in January. And again, you look at the money Fulham, especially, have spent in the past few years. And I read something, and you do have to read and check back on these things to believe it. Fulham in the past 5 years have either been promoted or relegated from the Premier League. Yeah. So they've not got the formula right yet, but they've spent an inordinate amount of money. So I know everyone's talking about Forest this summer, because this summer, we have. I saw in the European spending rankings, we are 3rd. We're above, clubs like Barcelona, Bayern Munich. It's insane. We're just behind Chelsea.
It's proactive, though, isn't it? I mean, a lot of teams coming up are very reactive and only buy in January when they're in trouble. But I mean, it might not work. It might not work. But at least you've tried. At least you've tried. There's no, we should have bought people in the summer. We've left it too late. So there's none of that. So I quite like that. And like Carl says, there's nothing wrong with a football manager transfer window. It makes it exciting. But
well, no, it does. It does. But yeah,
I think it's quite good that you're, as long as it's within your means, financial fair play, which is an absolute joke. If you're Man City, it doesn't exist. If you're a lesser team, it does, and you're punished. But we don't need to go into all of that. But as long as it's within your means, it's fine. And you've made signings. I think Nico Williams is a good signing. Lingard, I'm not sure about, but he has got Premiership experience, so that will come in vital for you. Dean Henderson, I think, is a fantastic goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So you've made some good signings, and I've heard that Steve Cooper has been labelled as the best manager Forest have had since Brian Clough, which you'll be far better placed to tell me that or not. But from what it looks like to me, and certainly from being bottom to getting promoted, he's a man manager and got great man management skills and a coach. We had similar in Pochettino. He didn't spend a huge amount compared to where we were positioned compared to the teams around us, but he coached players and got his results that way. So Steve Cooper looks similar to me. Obviously superb manager. The Championship's a very difficult league to get out of, especially when you're bottom after 8 games. I mean, how do you rate him and how far do you think he can go?
Incredibly highly, rate him really highly. The humility of the man as well really shines through, Chris. Little touches just before the playoff final last season. Our BBC radio commentator Colin Frey's covered Forest for 30 years. And in that time, it's been one of the worst periods, in the club's history, really, going from the great Brian Clough to the yo-yoing of the 90s into the bleakness of the mid-2000s, League One for 3 seasons. And Colin Frey covered all of that. And he asked Steve Cooper ahead of Wembley, what does this mean to you to have taken Forest this far? And the immediate response was, no, this is for you, Colin. This is for the fans. I'm just part of I'm just one man, part of one process, and I have a team here. And I just thought, what a lovely, honest, humble, fantastic, answer to a really pertinent question. And you could see actually the reporter who asked was really touched. You could see that, because when would you ever turn the microphone back on the guy asking you the question and say, well, what does it mean to you? Because they're so used to, petulant responses or arrogant responses over the years. So no, I think he's brilliant in terms of his ceiling. He's really young, in the game. And what I like about him as well, Chris, I said this, I said this to my wife recently. He just looks like a guy in the stands. He just looks like someone, literally they've pulled someone from the stands and said, do you want to have a go at, professional football manager? And that's his charm, but he's incredibly bright. He's incredible, his, say this now, touch wood, because we've got a difficult game this weekend. But no, his tactical nous as well, and his experience, his time at Liverpool, the England under-17s, where we won that World Cup. When you think of the players that were part of that squad, the Phil Fodens of this world, Morgan Gibbs-White, who was just signed back for us, real quality in strength and depth and knowledge, and his time at Liverpool in the academy. You hear, Jamie Carragher can't speak enough about him. Carragher at the moment on Monday Night Football, when he's doing Sky or bits and bobs, loves talking about Forest, and there's a rivalry as well between Forest and Liverpool, if you remember. So this is a hardened Scouser talking glowingly about Forest because of Steve Cooper. And there's whispers that he could go on to be, a future England manager and stuff, but we've heard these before, haven't we, with Allardyce and Claren in the past.
It's important not to get carried away. It's his first season in the Premiership. It's going well at the moment. Your big test will hopefully come after Sunday when you've tasted your first big defeat. So and how you react to that. It's the same with Arsenal. Arsenal going great guns at the moment. When they have a big old hammering, how do they cope with that? Because they didn't cope with it very well last year when they got done at White Hart Lane in the North London derby. So it'd be similar with Forest, and how if you do get a drubbing somewhere, I mean, Man City with Haaland are likely to give you that, like a 6-0. How does he pick the players up and make sure that their confidence isn't through the floor? But
you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So that'll be, yeah. I've never been a football manager, but I'm assuming it's fairly easy if everyone's fit and you're winning games. But you find a bit more out about yourself and your team and your players when things go wrong. So hopefully you find that out quickly after Sunday. But yeah, it'll be interesting how. But everything I've seen from him or heard from him, he comes across really well. And like I say, I quite like Forest. I just hope you have a bad weekend and League Cup and return leg in London. But I think it would be great to see Nottingham Forest stay in because, and Leeds, like I say, huge clubs, huge history. It's really good to have Forest back. But yeah, he's been very interesting as well, like I say, with his tactics for this game, being that our front three there, how he copes with those. If he tries to go toe-to-toe or if he tries to play a counter-attack game, it'd be very interesting to see how the game pans out there. But one player we might be without, which is annoying because he's become a bit of a cult hero at Spurs, Mr. Romero. You tackle him, you upset him, you're in your his little black book, and then you get clattered later on in the game. So I've put here Romero out for Spurs. I did see earlier that he's declared himself fit, but whether he is or not, whether Conte sees it like that, being that we've got a West Ham game, you want him in. If you're a Spurs fan, you'd want him in for the West Ham game because that will be physical. So I think he'll probably be out in the Forest game, which I'm assuming you'll be fairly pleased about. Carl Simpson has been past fit. Romero, whether he's selected, I'm not sure. You'd probably assume if he is fit, he'll play as many games as possible. But I'll be amazed if he doesn't play against West Ham. But he's got to temper his temper a little bit. Southampton 4-1 up and he goes in 2-footed. Could have easily been sent off or got in trouble. But I mean, Antonio, he's the only defender I've seen Antonio not get the better of, and then he was taken off after 60 minutes because he couldn't get any change out of Romero. But what a brilliant defender he is. I mean, how do you rate him first off? And do you think he'll play? And will you be pleased if he doesn't play?
Yeah, I will. I'll be pleased if he doesn't play. You know, undeniable quality. He's shown that in abundance. What I have picked up from, the bits and bobs I've seen of Spurs early doors this season is that there seems to be a replenishment of faith. Is that fair to say in some of the players from last season coming into this?
Some of them are still. Emerson's not been doing too bad, but then
Emerson Royal was one I was thinking of.
But yeah. You still get. I think every single club, you'll have it yourself. Every single person watching this who supports a club has their scapegoats or people they hate. For me, it was Jermaine Genius when he played for Spurs. He was so much better than he showed. And he's admitted that on BT that years and years ago that he could have done much better. But yeah, I mean, Harry Winks is one of ours. Emerson is one of ours. Eric Dyer is one of ours. So you'll obviously have your Forest players. But yeah, so some of them are still there. But Romero is loved by Spurs fans. He's gone from here to up here now.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I put a lot of that down to the manager. He's known for it, isn't he? How he can improve. I remember the really famous one at Chelsea was they needed a right back, and it was like he found Victor Moses down the side of the couch and just completely converted him into a right wing back. And that was almost this idea of, particularly in Premier League level, like, Conte is very good at developing fullbacks, isn't he? And this was a guy, I mean, Victor Moses must have been 28, 29 at the time as well. In fact, had a bit of a nomadic career, hadn't he? So that in itself is a huge testament to Conte's man management and tactical nous as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Romero starts, and if he doesn't, it would presumably be Sanchez, which he's another one actually who gets a lot of flack, but he played quite well against Wolves. But there was one bit where he's done it ever since he arrived. And I learned when I was a kid playing football as a defender, if the ball goes over the top, do not let it bounce. You get your head in the way, you get your foot in the way, you stop it from bouncing. And he still does it. He did that against Wolves. It hit him on the back of the head, and luckily it kind of sent the guy a bit wide. So, but the records will only show that he played in that game 90 minutes, didn't concede a goal, got a clean sheet. But he relies on his pace as well, which should be your last resort as a defender. But yeah, I mean, if he plays, do you think he'll be targeted, or do you think it will be
I do.
Will be targeted, or do you think it will be other people, or mix and match?
Yeah, no, you're right with that. I've noticed going into a few games, we did it away at Everton last weekend. We do tend to target particular channels because Brennan Johnson is incredibly quick, very quick, and he plays on the shoulder, and he's niggly as well. You know, he gets in people's elbows and around them, and he causes problems. So, yeah, I'd say out of the defenders we've mentioned, Sanchez would probably be one that we'd look at to target. But again, it's going to be for us how often we have the ball and what we do with it, because otherwise, it could be pretty long afternoon for the likes of Johnson, because he's relying on quality. He's relying on through balls really.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to Eugene in the chat. How you doing, buddy? One person I did want to talk about is your new striker, Awoniyi. Is that how you pronounce it?
So I think, yeah, you're nearly there. I think it's Awoniyi, but again, I've heard various.
Well, you're the Forest fan, so you should know. So we'll call him Awoniyi. He obviously scored against West Ham, his first goal for the club. It's fortuitous, but like Kane's goal against Wolves, looks very, very simple. Kane's goal, but it's movement. And Brendan Johnson, is it Brendan Johnson?
Brendan Johnson, yeah.
So he scored against Everton. You can say as much as you like. Jordan Pickford, absolutely terrible. Constantly pushes the ball out into danger areas rather than a corner. But Johnson was there, and I think good strikers, you can't teach the movement and anticipation, and and them being in the right place at the right time isn't fluke. It's by design. So Johnson was in the right place at the right time. Lovely, tidy finish. Awoniyi, lucky finish, but he was in the right place at the right time. Harry Kane, a sitter of a header, in the right place at the right time, and it's all good strikers. And I mean, who's going to be starting for you? Awoniyi, Johnson, both? Or does it depend on our back line whether Sanchez or Romero is there?
It's a difficult one to call, really, because we've also, Sam Surridge, who came up with us, and he started with Johnson against Newcastle, first game of the season. He bagged a brace midweek. All right, it was against Grimsby, so a totally different level of opposition. But yeah, there are options. I'm wondering if he may go with one, though, just one of the two, to give an opportunity.
Out a little bit.
Yeah, Morgan Gibbs-White, 2 10s, Morgan Gibbs-White and Lingard behind, which I'd be quite interested to see, actually. And I think definitely because we've got, interestingly, Man City midweek after this. So difficult week for us. So again, even more crucial, we got the points that we have on the board.
There's 2 games to show you where you actually are, isn't it?
Exactly.
And quite good as well, to not saying it will happen, but if Spurs and City did turn you over, you've got your reality check fairly early on.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a bad run of fixtures, although on paper. But yeah. But yeah, in terms of the game, Carl Simpson, Forest will attack the right side of the defence. Emerson and Sanchez will be there, as there'll be no change out of Perisic on the left. I can see Cesc starting instead of Perisic, and Perisic starting against West Ham, but I don't know. But certainly our left side, I think, is probably strong. Although we do have Kulusevski on the right side, who does track back and help Emerson out a little bit. But it'll be interesting. But yeah, in terms of your strikers, it's a lovely problem to have. 2 strikers, both scoring goals. Who do I pick?
Absolutely.
And the competition for places there is evidenced by just picking them alternate. But yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got ourselves in some good positions first half against Everton. I was sat with a few blues behind the goal in the Lower Gladys Street, sort of guest of honour, so that was a test when we scored. But yeah, there was a couple of positions we got into first half, and Awoniyi looked a little raw still. He's still getting up to speed with the Premier League. I mean, he scored 15 goals for the Union Berlin in the Bundesliga last season. They had a good season by all accounts, and I know their fans were really aggrieved to see him leave. Wished him well, but it's a different animal, isn't it? So he'll need time. There's no doubt about that. But as you said, Chris, goals bring confidence, and it wasn't the tidiest of finishes against West Ham, but you've got to be there, haven't you?
Doesn't matter if it flies off someone's backside; it's still a goal. Still counts as a goal for them in the history books. But like I say, it's in the right place at the right time is always sometimes seen as he's lucky there. But strikers, it's not. It's not muscle memory, but you do it so much in training, I would have thought, and in games, it just becomes second nature to move to that area because that's likely where I think the ball's going to end up. And it was good reactions as well because it came fired at him and either got out the way or got his leg or knee to it to divert it. So it looks like a scruffy goal and a lucky goal, but I think there was probably
the build-up was great. Yeah, the build-up was great though. On the left-hand side, I like to see that. Toffolo getting into. I know we're by the looks, if you're to believe every transfer rumor, I don't think there's a left back in the world we haven't been linked with, including a few from Spurs this week as well. But the build-up was really good to see. On another day, Lingard scores instead of scuffs it. He scuffed it towards Awoniyi's path, didn't he? I think that was more to do with the West Ham fans behind the goal, the scuff of Lingard's effort, to be honest with you, because I think against another team, he puts that away. Good build-up play, and hopefully there's a few opportunities where we get to test that against Spurs.
Yeah, one of the areas that we've talked about, you packing out the midfield, certainly against Chelsea and Wolves, our midfield was kind of lacking. I think it was more Conte tactical errors, not tactical errors, but Tuchel certainly got the better of him. But then that was also to do with the fact that we just didn't turn up. But we've got a terrific midfield, 4 great midfielders, I think. Obviously 3 at the moment because Skip's injured, but Højbjerg, Bentancur formed a great partnership since January when Bentancur arrived. But Basuma, who I think can do anything in midfield, he can hold the ball up, he can marshal the defence, he can be the Kante kind of break things up, he can go forward, he can be Yaya Toure driving forward, he can spot a pass, he can be box to box. I think he can do absolutely everything. He had COVID just before the start of the season, so I think that's hampered his kind of preparation and fitness a little bit, hence why we haven't seen him a huge amount. But like I say, 2 games in a week, I can see him starting this one, certainly playing a lot longer role than the 10, 15 minutes he has been. But we've got to get the balance right. Certainly Chelsea, they had more in midfield. They had Mount, who was the spare man always. Wolves, similar kind of situation. Forest, if you play the 5 in midfield and the 1 up top, you could have another similar situation like that. So what do you think of our midfield? And obviously, how do you expect Conte to pick that midfield? Or do you think he'll just stick with his tried and tested, because we are 7 points out of 9? But like I say, if we start games sloppily, continue doing that, we will get punished and we will get hammering in the first half at some point.
I mean, what I hope happens is you play the kids.
Well, Carl Simpson's asked from you. I'm assuming you've signed him. Can you start Aurier, please? We know he likes a lunge for a red card.
Right.
You have signed him. I know you were interested in him, but I'm not sure if you signed him or not.
Right. That may have happened this morning.
Yeah.
We'll speak about that after. Cheers for letting us know. No, look, I think there'll be a bit of a shuffling of the pack, to be honest, because obviously the games that you've got coming up. And, again, our inexperience in the Premier League games are largely won and lost in midfield, aren't they? I think you'll probably have one of the three start, then depending of, how the game goes on. Well, maybe two of the three. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, if there are lads who've kind of been waiting to get their game, been getting back up to speed, it could be a good game to get them into, because we have struggled in midfield for big periods of games, all this season, really. Apart from West Ham at home, where we were pretty impressive. Certainly the games away from home, we've really struggled in that midfield area. Because I noticed Alex Iwobi in his new converted centre midfield position under Frank Lampard ran the game, really. And, as I'm sure everyone will attest to on this programme, especially, not the greatest player in the world, is he?
No,
so,
he is a good coach, Lampard. You saw what he did with Mason Mount and others. I'm not sure he's the best tactician or manager, but certainly as a coach, I think he's fairly good. But yeah, I mean, your home game against West Ham, first home game in the Premier League for 18 years, you're always going to be bang up for that, I think. Similar to us.
Yeah.
First
Incredible.
game against Southampton at home, we were always going to be bang up for that. And then it's almost a case of the Lord Mayor's show, isn't it? The game after West Ham, where you've got that massive win, massive high, and then you've got to try and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I think the fans could really make a difference. If we can stay in the game, not do anything silly early, that could really carry us. But it's going to be an interesting contest, because you showed it against Saints on the opening day. You'll just be patient. There's no panic, is there? Even if
that's something that's really changed.
Yeah, and that's a really big mind shift needed to do what you guys want to do, which is win silverware. That's ultimately it, and that mental shift, Conte can bring that to the fore. I can really see you mixing it up with, I'm sure we'll go on to talk about this later, but mix it with the predicted top two.
I'm not sure. Certainly Liverpool. Not sure about City. Like they needed any more goals, and they get Haaland in. But what we need to do, I think you're bang on with the fans. Will be bang up for this. The job of the away team is to shut the fans up early doors. So you do that by either making it a really boring game, certainly not letting the home team have any chances, and having a couple yourself. That's what we need to do. Similar to like we did at Leeds last season. It was under the Bielsa. I could set up a team against Bielsa's team. Just make yourself a bit compact and a bit solid, and then have some strikers who can do some stuff. But that's exactly what we did there. We didn't let them have any chances, really. I think they had one header, but then we went up the other end and scored, and then we won 4-0. Perfect away performance, really. I know we conceded a couple of chances where they should have scored, but generally perfect away performance, and the crowd are very quiet there. That's what we need to do here, certainly here, because you're still going to be bang up for this. And West Ham was the first Premiership game in umpteen years. This is the first home game against the top 6 team. So you'll be bang up for it again. And we just need to make sure that we get the balance right, not win the midfield battle, but certainly be competitive in midfield. Chelsea first half, we weren't. Mason Mount had the run of that midfield. And if they'd have had a striker, it would have been about 3-0, 4-0 by half time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Whether we will, I don't know. But one player who's going to be important for you, Nico Williams. Obviously at Liverpool, it's not going to get into their team huge amount. He's right wing back, isn't he? So he ain't going to get ahead of Trent unless there's an injury there. But he's a good signing for you, I think. Premiership experience, probably played a little bit in Europe, obviously been a winning team. And certainly against West Ham, he looked really good. Didn't see too much of him against Everton. But again, he's going into a brand new team, brand new manager, brand new players. So it's going to take a little while to bed in. But yeah, how do you see him progressing through the season?
Yeah, really well. Like what I've seen so far, do both in defence and attack. Seems to be a real athlete in the mould as well. Interestingly, too, um, there's the Wales connection, the link with on that right hand side. We've got Nico Williams just behind Brennan Johnson. So Welsh national fans will be really intrigued to see the dovetailing, the development between those two this season. And yeah, I hope it's a chemistry that really blossoms. I do, because, on a smaller scale, it's a bit like Gary Neville and Bex, isn't it? Back in the day, where you've got the two national right-sided players, playing for one club, which is which is great. I think it, particularly in attack as well, he's got a real dynamism. He likes to cross the ball with whip and verve, and he can cross from deep. He can get to the byline. So if your opposing fullbacks or defence, whichever way we want to target, are having an off day or being a bit slow, particularly again, as I say, with the City ground behind us, yeah, it could be a real avenue to exploit. But no, I think he's great, and no doubt he'll have to develop that consistency that's needed to really develop into a top quality player. But I think he has the attributes, no doubt.
Yeah, I think he's a quality player, and I think it's probably a move that suits him as well. He's going to be not stagnated, but he's going to get bit part appearances for Liverpool. And even if he plays out of his skin, he ain't going to get ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. That guy's deliveries.
Might after Monday, but no.
At Forest, at Forest, barring injuries, suspensions, he's going to be playing at least 30 games.
Yeah, touch wood.
Probably 90 minutes, certainly 70 minutes plus. So it can only be good for his development, I think. And I think he'll turn into a really good player. But one thing I do really worry about this game is we still cannot defend set pieces. And like you said with Nico Williams there, good delivery. You say it every game, don't you? When a player's in the channel, don't give away a silly foul. And what does your player do? Barges them over for no reason. It's very similar like Reece James did to Harry Kane at the end of the Chelsea game. It's essentially lost them 2 points. And just quickly talk about Trent. He's a liability for Liverpool. He attacks too much and leaves so much space. But I would imagine, being the fact that how much Liverpool have the ball, you get far, far more positive stuff from Trent Alexander going forward with his crossing ability than when he doesn't have the ball. But that's Klopp's problem, not ours. But yeah, defending set pieces, we still can't do it. So do you think you'll be not playing for that, but any opportunity, Cooper will be saying, whip the ball in, any free kicks, any corners, don't do short corners or anything like that. Mix it up, short near post, far post, under the goalkeeper's crossbar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I can see teams always employing that tactic against us until there's evidence that our defending set pieces has got better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if there is a weakness, it will be there to be exploited. And every club, the hours of analysis that goes into the opposition now, from our weak points to yours, they'll be looked at, and everyone will be aware of. That was highlighted in our former goalkeeper Brice Samba having every penalty takers which direction they go on his bottle against Sheffield United, which went viral, didn't it? So it's just beyond meticulous now, isn't it? The knowledge that every footballer has going into these games, and it's can you exploit that in the big moments and opportunities?
Yeah. I do worry about it. We've massively improved in how many set pieces we score. We've scored from a set piece in each of our 3 games, although the Southampton one was the second phase of the corner. But I think that's probably more goals from corners than we can scored in the entirety of last season. So we have got a new set piece coach. Hopefully, he's working on the defensive as well. And Carl as well. Correct on our set pieces defending is still rubbish. We're 100 times more threat attacking set pieces this season. Pretty much said what I just said there. So great minds think alike, obviously. And game predictions we come on now. the predictions for the game. I warn you now, I'm a coward. I can't give an actual score because it's too much tempting fate. I'll say win, lose, or draw in Spurs' perspective, but I can't give a score prediction. So it's entirely up to you whether you join me in the cowardice stakes or you give an actual prediction. But for me, I pretty much say it every game, but it could go either way. It could be the boring 0-0. Forest, don't want to take a drubbing here against our front three, so let's make it boring. Or we've got nothing to lose and go for it, which benefits us. Or if it's just something silly that one team does and it's a 1-0 either way. But what I would say is we went away to Wolves, went away to Villa last year. Really, really was a professional performance. So I'm hoping we do the same here. And like I say, we can't be starting games as badly as we have done constantly. There's got to be something that changes. And what might be interesting is if we do, and then you score, it might give us a kick up the backside that we needed. And then we'd see a completely different Spurs in that first half. But I'll go for a Spurs win. But I know we did last week, but I don't see us keeping a clean sheet. So Carl Simpson here goes 3-1 Spurs, but a good game. What do you think on predictions for the game? Obviously, a lot depends on who plays and the tactics employed, but
it does. No, it does. And the head-to-head's similar, isn't it, going into it and all that. I mean, one thing I'll say is many Spurs fans will be pleased Ian Woan isn't playing anymore. He always enjoys. And there was a great goal. They weren't tap-ins either, were they?
No,
really good
free
goal.
kicks or long range.
Yeah. That famous snowy
get. He knocks us out of the FA Cup replay, I think.
Yes, there was a very famous game in very wintry conditions in 1995. Yeah. The pictures are incredible. Right, I've got to represent, haven't I? So I can't say I can't say on the record a loss. So I'm going to say a score draw, but off the record.
This is being recorded and live on YouTube, so there is no off the record. But you have put a disclaimer in yourself, so hopefully people will let you off there.
Yeah. No, I'll say on the record a 1-0 win, but off the record, realistically, I just think, it's a bit of a free hit. So I'd just like to see a bit of a performance, a bit of heart, and hopefully not a drubbing going into, Man City in midweek. But, say if it was 4-3, 4-1, but, we put ourselves about, we were, let's say, a little unlucky. You've just got to appreciate that's the level that we've come into now, haven't you? So, on the record, 1-0 win though, Chris.
Yeah, but that's what I'm hoping, in the sense that you do get a sense of this is what the Premiership is really about. But
yeah,
like I say, this is a perfect chance for us. And Carl Simpson feels that Spurs' firepower will be too strong. If they get on the ball and get chances and space, it's going to be too strong, even for Man City. But then Man City's firepower is going to be too strong for us. But that's for another preview when we play them. But we obviously want to be winning things. I mean, you said earlier that we can challenge possibly the top two. I think Liverpool, them losing Mane has had a real bad effect. And Nunes, who came in, has just shown his real immaturity with that ridiculous sending off. But they obviously haven't started very well. Man City is still the team to beat. But going away to Newcastle, very difficult to judge at the moment. But I do feel that will be a good point come the end of the season, because I think Newcastle will be very difficult to beat at home. But they are conceding goals, Man City. So I can see us potentially challenging them, but my head says we can. My heart says we can. My head says Man City are going to be too strong. And Liverpool will come back again. There ain't going to be a chance that Liverpool are going to finish 10th. But if we want to be in the title picture and title conversation, with all due respect to Forest, we have to be winning this game. And ideally, fairly comfortably, rather than a really squeaky bum time 1-0 victory or 2-1 victory. Like that Leeds game last year. I know it's 4-0, but you can have a comfortable 2-0 victory. So that's what I want to see, something that shows that we are to be taken seriously this season. But it's not going to be easy. Like you said, Forest are going to be bang up for this. back in the big time. So it's how we approach the game for me. If we approach the game professionally, I can see us blowing you away a little bit. If we approach it unprofessionally, like it looks like we have done the last 2 games, I can see you doing some real damage to us. But yeah, I mean, do you think Spurs can challenge for the league?
Yeah, I do. I think in terms of since when the Pochettino years where it was really clicking into play, it's definitely the best showing. And also, there's a changing of the guard behind the scenes as well. There seems to be a real trust and affinity between manager and Levy, which hasn't always been there, has it?
Yeah.
And that's really great to see. It certainly looks like, Levy's got full faith and trust in his main man, which hasn't been the case. So I think the ingredients are there. It's now just putting that. You're absolutely right. If you are going to win, it probably, you are going to have to ultimately not just beat the teams around you, but, beat Forest away and such. And that's where Liverpool under Rafa used to fall short. I remember in 2009, they won away, 4-1 at Old Trafford, the famous Gerrard kissing the camera, in the grey strip. But then within a fortnight, they'd lose away at Middlesbrough. And, you can't be doing that if you've got aspirations of winning the league. So, it'll be, interesting to say. But then the dilemma could come up of, for Spurs, what trophy, you have a run in Europe, put the other year against Liverpool to rest. Winning a European Cup would be incredible. But then I imagine, any silverware, any silverware.
We were delighted winning the Audi Cup, that's how desperate we are for trophies.
Absolutely.
But yeah, in terms of Forest, what your hopes for the season? Is it a case of 17th is brilliant, anything else is a bonus, or do you have aspirations a top half finish because of how we started? What and where do you think you can finish? So, what are your hopes, and what do you think is realistic?
I think you have to say first year back in after so long. It wouldn't be defeatist to say 17th and anything else is a bonus, just because it has been so long. Really enjoying it, and it is going to be tough. We are going to suffer. There's going to be periods without a win, and Cooper's already alluded to that. So it's about the process and believing in what we do and sticking together. You said it before. If we don't get, it's likely we won't get a result this weekend again midweek. So it's what's the reaction, what's the mentality in the group, and that's going to be the difference more than any numbers that we've already brought in against other teams. So if that mentality is there, and we, and who knows, look, we could finish low, upper mid-table or something. That'd be absolutely incredible. But I'm not going to be making any wild predictions or anything like that. I know a few Forest fans who are going a little bit crazy with talk of, Europa League football next season, which, and I know Wolves did it when they came up, but they also came up with a Chinese conglomerate and George Mendes behind them. And the likes of Ruben Neves in midfield. So, it's a bit of a different animal. So, yeah, I'm going to say stay up, make a good showing of ourselves, and remind, the rest of the world, because the Premier League is a global game now, who we are and what we're about. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think your home form will be fairly good. You'll lose the odd home game here or there, but I think on the whole it'll be fairly solid. And then, you got a point away at Everton, unlucky not to get 3, but I think you'll get a few away wins as well. So I think you'll be fine. How high you'll be, I'm not sure, but in terms of 17th or higher, I think you'll definitely be in there back in next season. But yeah, we pretty much reached the end. That's the preview. I think you're back on Monday, aren't you, for the review of the game? So we'll see who's smiling then. We'll have some other faces as well. But yeah, it's been great talking to you. You've been on here before. Quickly as well, Carl Simpson reckons you'll be in the top 12. I think that'll be a tremendous season. And then next season will all be about trying to improve that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carl, if you can make that happen, That would be great.
Yeah, great show as usual. Cheers, Carl. Thanks so much for your comments and for watching. Really appreciate it. But yeah, John, great having you on. Look forward. Potentially, we'll see how it goes on Sunday if we're having you on Monday. But yeah, always great having you on. And yeah, just a plug for the channel you mentioned earlier, the Forest fan channel, Forza Garibaldi. It's in the description. You'll find it on the description on all your podcast sites as well as YouTube. But yeah, just a quick mention about them.
Yeah, they're just a really great fan setup, established about 8-9 years ago, just to improve, the general feeling around the club, particularly at home games and match days. Very much inspired, by what we see in the European leagues, of just fantastic atmospheres, win, lose or draw. And it's been a real sort of, outlet for a lot of fans. A lot of fans have gone there and spoken about mental health, or it's just been an escape away from, the day-to-day for a lot of people, and added to what is already, what should be an escape from work and everything that we, go through on a match day. So that they're a great bunch, and they're getting well known now for their fan displays as well. So keep half an eye out for one of those, because there might be one on Sunday.
Yeah, they're on YouTube, so definitely check those out for the Forest perspective of the game and how it pans out and everything like that. And yeah, just left for me to say cheers, John. Thanks so much for coming on, and speak to you on Monday. Hopefully it's me smiling and not you, but we won't know that for another 48 hours at least. But yeah, and just left for me to say thank you everybody for watching. Thanks to everyone who put their comments in the chat. Really helps the channel. Before you go, and if you're watching the replay, please hit that like. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe. Really helps the channel. Really do appreciate it. You can get this on a podcast as well, wherever you get your podcast. And yeah, if you like something a bit different, I do a Magics channel as well. Chris's Magic there on YouTube. Only a few minutes each, so it's not a huge amount of time out of your day. But yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, check that out. Really do appreciate that as well. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Won't be on here. It'll be on Tommy's channel, The Hotspur Hood. But same show on Tommy's channel, The Hotspur Hood. So make sure you go check them out. Hit the like and subscribe on there. Make sure you hit the notification bell. He's got so many people doing shows. It's easier to just hit the notification bell. Get notified every time. And yeah, we'll see how Sunday goes. And we'll see if our predictions here, mine and John's, were correct. And yeah, when we reconvene on Monday. But until then, come on, you Spurs. Thank you so much for watching, for everybody who joined in the live chat. Before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we go live. For anyone who missed the live stream, you can catch us on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube account whenever you want. Please leave any comments or suggestions in the comments box. For anyone who listens to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio-only podcast, you get that wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, go to our Twitter account at @LTalkTottenham or Instagram account Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast. Find all the information there. We're back on Mondays on the Hotspur Hood YouTube channel, 7:30 p.m. UK time, and back on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel at 12:30 p.m. UK time as well. For anyone who wants something a bit different, not just football, and likes their magic, please head over to Chris's Magic YouTube channel. One trick a week, Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. UK time as well. Always drops then. And thanks